Hello, welcome to Millionaire Brand Creation. I just want to thank you guys so much for coming. Today we have a very special guest, a friend of mine, Hugh Emmer. Hugh works with Ed Marshall's, which is one of the most local award-winning watch companies that can source watches and jewelry from around the world. And he's a good friend of mine. We've had a lot of conversations about watches, etc. His background is actually pretty exciting. He grew up abroad. He was the son to a diamond dealer and retailer for many years. High-end jewelry. He studied at a private jewelry school in Switzerland. He understands diamonds, colored stones, watches, and today we're going to talk about high-end watches, especially high-end watch collecting, because I know a lot of you know that I love watches, and watches are one of those things, especially for men, that is a great conversational starter. And so I think today Hugh has been kind enough to pull some very special pieces from their collection over there at Ed Marshall's. He's going to talk about it, talk about himself. And so without further ado, Hugh Emmer, how are you, my friend?
Good, Michael. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your platform. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure being here. Um, and I can. You want me to introduce myself briefly? I know you already did a
Sure.
great
Talk about
job.
a little bit about yourself. Talk a
So
little bit
so
about yourself.
I leave the ego on the side, but I'll talk a little bit about myself. I grew up in Belgium. My grandfather, after the war, start going door to door, had a long coat. He had color stones on one side, diamonds on the other side, watches, and that's how, back in those days, tough days, he was able to build his clientele. And then my father came along, and my father followed his footsteps. Um, my dad was an entrepreneur, and he learned the art of cutting diamonds in Antwerp, in Belgium. Belgium, Antwerp has the largest diamond center in the world. That's where all the big stone come and go. So he learned the art of cutting stones there, and opened up his own venture and did did very well for himself. And I followed the footstep as well. Like the way you introduced me before, like you said, I studied in Switzerland in a private school. I studied jewelry management, and watches.
Well, today I know you have a lot of great watches for us. And if you could tell us a little bit more about your transition from Europe to the United States and what got you that entrepreneurial like zest, because a lot of the viewership that watches this is in the real estate business or they're entrepreneurs themselves. And they love, a lot of high-end timepieces and jewelry. But it's always interesting to hear from our guests what got them into business and what gave them the drive to want to succeed.
Well, like I said, I followed kind of the family footsteps. When I came to the States, I worked for Cartier, the king of the jeweler and the jeweler of the kings. And I spent a lot of time in New York and Fifth Avenue, and I met a lot of people. And it has always been my passion to sell gems, beautiful timekeepers. So I worked for Cartier. Then I was hired by another company called Tourneau, which created their first store in New York in 1930. And it was the first brick and mortar company. The first store, the first location they opened. And I worked for Tourneau for about 6 and 7 years. And at Tourneau, the only thing I sold were watches. So all of them.
Mm.
You brands from Patek Philippe to Breguet, Blancpain, Culhane, Roger Dubuis, Tourneau, used to carry every single major watch company in the world. So that's kind of,
Why do you
that's
think?
kind of.
No, I think Tourneau is a fascinating company, and in the last 10 to 15 years, in particular, watches have become a really big trend. They've become a really big status symbol, I think, more than anything. And why do you think in the last 10 to 15 years, watch collecting and/or timepiece acquisition has become so popular?
Well, first off, I think the watch business and the watch industry has changed a lot. It has completely changed. If you look at watches from the early 60s, the 70s, the old Pateks, the old Jaeger, they were very, very small watch. Today, a watch of that size would fit a young lady. They no longer look like men's watch. So it has been a huge evolution in designs. Um, it has been a lot of new watchmakers, upcoming watchmakers in the industry, and a lot of
Mhm.
trendy watches. Is no longer the grandfather watch or the dad's watch. It's not something that has some kind of architecture design and depending on your taste and what you like, whether you like to drive a Ferrari or Porsche, it does the same with watches. You can
Right.
buy one ride that's going to make you look like a tough Hollywood guy, or you can wear a nice Patek Philippe, a perpetual calendar that's going to give you the right year and the right date for the next 100 years. Um, so that's when it comes to the evolutions of watches and designs. Now, why people buy high-end watch these days? Well, they buy them because they love it. They love
Mhm.
watches. They love watches. My clients often ask me, why do I need another watch? And I always tell them it's not about needing, it's about wanting. It's what you want. Do you need a watch? No. You have your cell phone. You want the time? You look at your cell phone. But wearing a watch, having the pleasure of wearing a prestigious watch on your brand, not only makes you look good, but it tells a little bit of a story about who you are and what kind
Mhm.
of a person. So that's one aspect. It's the aesthetic aspect of buying, purchasing, acquiring a nice timekeeper. The other aspect, and it doesn't go for all the watch companies, only for some of them. In some aspects, people also buy. You were referring to real estate. A lot of my clients also buy a watch because it's an investment. So not all watch are an investment. You wear them again because they look great on you, because they're beautiful timekeepers. You don't always buy a watch because you know that the value is going to appreciate over time. You buy a watch because you love it. Just the same way you're going to buy a Ferrari, a Porsche, a Maserati, or some other cars. But there are some brands like Rolex, Sport Rolex, Patek Philippe, Richard Mille, um, that over the years not only hold their value but go up in value. So there is a whole market, and what gives those watch so much value? Well, first of all, it's the market, and it's like art. It's a little bit like in the eyes of the beholder. So, but you were right. The market has changed a lot. It has drifted a lot. It went from the grandpa watch, very conservative, very small, in the 60s and the 70s, to some really cool piece. Sometimes some of them look like spaceships, but that's the beauty of watchmaking today.
Can you talk about the Three Horsemen and how they were able to really create brands that people envy and pay two, three, four times retail to get some of these pieces? And can you talk about supply and demand and how they're able to curtail their supply so there's a huge demand for especially one of these pieces you're going to show us today?
Well, there is. it's, we had COVID, so the supply chain has been disrupted because of that. In the meantime, and I don't work for Rolex, so I don't know what the marketing policy exactly is, but it seems to me that they're trying to make their watches more desirable by producing less than before. And,
Mm.
um, they, if you want to buy a sport Rolex today, um, well, you go to an authorized Rolex dealer, they will put you on a waiting list, and like a dozen other people, and then there is a waiting time to get a watch like that. How do they pull it off? Because they can, because it's Rolex, because it's Patek, because they're rare, because they don't make that many, like the Rolex Daytona or the Patek Philippe, the Aquanaut, or some other designs they make. They don't make that many. They make it very, very difficult for the consumer to obtain, and because of that, everybody wants to watch. They created
Mm.
this, and that's a beautiful thing.
Well, not only that, I think with Hugh Dinky and a lot of these online podcasts, like John Mayer, right? The John Mayer Green Daytona, that had a huge surge because of what he talked about the piece, right? You look at Patek Philippe Nautiluses, right? A lot of celebrities want Nautiluses and they buy Nautiluses, and those skyrocket in value. The same thing, like Richard Mille, same thing. A lot of celebrities like Richard Mille. Um, to me, it's fascinating because it's always the desirability of what you can't get. And then when you finally see it or you have it or you obtain it, you're like, this is what everyone pays 2, 3, 4 times retail for. It's just fascinating because I guess it's just supply and demand. And you're going to show us, I think, a few of those pieces today. But if you were going to start off, let's say you don't know a lot about watchmaking and or you don't know a lot about watches, what would you recommend a man or a woman be their first collector piece? What should they be looking for, and what are some good holders of value? Because I know a lot of people say, well, you don't necessarily buy a watch to make money, but I have found, especially with a lot of pieces in my collection, they've been able to store money so I can wear them, enjoy them, and if I ever wanted to sell them, I pretty much could sell them for exactly what I pay for them.
Well, I want to go back to what you said about, the green dial Daytona and some of these watches. Then you finally find one, see one, or get the one you were looking for. You're like, wow, that's what all the fuss was about. No, I have the watch. That's the deal. Well, what's exciting is not getting the watch. What's exciting is the journey of getting the watch. You want
Mm,
the watch, it's the excitement, the thrill to get the watch. Of course, when you're going to get the watch, you're going to look at the watch, say, well, it's a great looking watch, but why have I been looking for that watch for the past 10 years, of the past 5 years? It's okay. It's the journey and it's the excitement. If you're looking to buy your first watch, I would say that I would look at, where do I want to start my collection? I would look at the budget I have in mind. I would be looking at some of the first entry level watches. Today, you have watch companies like, Tag Heuer, that they make their own caliber, they make their own movement. So you can buy a very nice entry level watch, a nice Tag Heuer. You can buy a nice Longines. You can buy, there's so many, you can buy a Baume Mercier. These are nice, entry level watch. And then, if you want to become a little more, sophisticated and a little bit more, get something a little bit more fancy, then you're going to be looking at maybe a Omega watch, because Omega has come a long way. They're making absolutely gorgeous watch. They make their own caliber. They make something that's called the coaxial movement, for which they have a patent. That means that there is a minimum, a watch like that needs minimum lubrication. Um, and so You can start. You can start with Tag. You can start with Longines. It's okay. There is a lot of great brands out there. If you want to invest in a brand, if you want to invest in a watch, like you said, that's going to hold some type of value over time, then you're looking at Rolex,
Mm.
Patek Philippe, and some other brands.
And what about Auto? What? How do you pronounce it? Audemars Piguet? Is that how you spell it?
Same, you know what? That's the fourth horseman. One of them, I forgot that one. Audemars Piguet is an amazing watch company. One of the best watch in the world. You also have Vacheron Constantin. But Audemars Piguet, it goes the same with AP. Not every AP will appreciate in price over time, but some of them will. Many of them will. Great
The
watch.
the three that I've seen on the secondary market that seem to hold and or go up in value are sport Rolex models, just so people know, right? Those are the Submariners, the GMT2s, the Daytonas, which are very hard to get, and in fact possible to get from ADs unless you spend six figures plus from a certain AD. And then obviously, as you get into the APs, you have Royal Oaks, I would assume. You get into Patek Philippe's, you're looking at Nautiluses and Aquanauts and perpetual calendars that you spoke of. But what's interesting is from an investment perspective, it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, watches that hold their value the most, that are the most accessible. And I say that loosely, accessibility is, let's say, $8,000 or more, seems to be Rolex. Is that the first entry point for a collector looking for a cash storage in watch collecting?
That I would say that would be, yeah. If you have access to, if you can buy one, sure, absolutely, absolutely. You can buy a Rolex, and because you're strictly talking about value, you can buy a Rolex, and you may lose a little bit of money depending on the model of the watch, but you're not going to lose too much money. They're holding their value pretty well, even though we recently had to readjust the price of a sport Rolex because the price went down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a combination of many things. Of it, Rolex has ramped up the production again. So price have been coming down for Rolex watch. Not just Rolex. I mean, you see that in real estate as well, but it's
Yeah.
just a market thing.
Yeah. And that's across the board, even Pateks and APs and all of them, correct?
I think so. I think we've seen a decrease in prices. That is
Mhm.
correct. Not super drastic, but there is a decrease. So if you're on the market right now to buy a sport Rolex, it might be a good timing for you to buy one, and for you, Michael, to come back and see me.
Well, that's my Achilles heel. I have too many of them already, but I always like more. So, if you could, Hugh, share with us a
And
few
never,
special pieces that you have, and talk a little bit about them. Right? Maybe value, how much they cost, how much possibly they're worth on the secondary market, and why they're unique pieces, and why they may be a great addition to someone's collection, man or woman.
correct. I'm going. So I've selected a few watches. The first watch I'm going to introduce is the Rolex Daytona, and I know you like the Rolex Daytona a lot.
I do.
So I have one here. So this is the Rolex Daytona stainless steel. It's the watch that everybody wants. Like if you are an authorized dealer, a Rolex authorized dealer, and you are in a mall, you will probably have about 20 people a day, if no more, who come by and ask you, Michael, do you have a Rolex Daytona in stock? No, sorry, maybe come back tomorrow. So this is the watch. We have it here at Ed Marshall Jewelers. It's not a new Rolex. It's a pre-owned. It has been gently loved. But what's nice about this watch is is that it's a very simple watch. You can wear it with pretty much everything. You can wear it with a suit. You can wear it. You can dress up casual. It's an iconic watch. It's an iconic watch because back in the 60s and 70s, Paul Newman used to wear the Rolex Daytona. Now, Paul Newman never endorsed the brand officially, but he loved the watch. His wife, John Woodward, gave him for his birthday a Rolex Daytona, and it became one of his best companions. So to this day, the Daytona has seen a lot of change. The look has changed over the years. If you can find a Paul Newman Daytona with a pin dial, I mean, you're looking at 100,000, 200,000. It depends on the watch. Um, but it's an iconic watch. So I have a Rolex Daytona here. So this is the new style. The bezel of the watch is made of ceramic. It has what we call the panda dial, and the size of the watch is very comfortable. It's about 40 millimeter. Now you have to know that Rolex makes their own caliber. It's a very, very, very comfortable watch. It's high polish in the center. It's brushed on the extremity. And what's really nice about the bracelet is that you can micro adjust it. You don't need a tool, but you can easily micro adjust it on your own and have it fit your wrist. So if you're looking at this watch, if you want to buy this watch new from a dealer, and I haven't double checked the retail price, I think they go for retail, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, 25 retail if you can find one. Um, but on the pre-owned market, just because you cannot find this watch, we're asking much more. So a watch like this today, the watch I'm holding in my hand, doesn't have the original box and papers. And like I mentioned before, the price went down, and we're asking for this watch 27.5. So you can come to Ed Marshall Jewelers and buy the that Rolex Dayton stainless steel for 27.5. No box, no paper, but uh, you get you get a good karma when you buy a watch from us, and I'll give you a certificate of authenticity as well. So that's the Rolex Daytona. Now there is another watch that just came out. It kind of looks like it, but it has a life on its own. It's the Zenith Chronomaster Sport. So it has a similar look to the Rolex Daytona I just showed you. The
Mhm.
difference, the Zenith Chronomaster Sport is 1 millimeter larger. It also has a ceramic bezel, but when you turn the watch around and you look at the back of the watch, it has a see-through. The movement of the El Primero is completely made. It's an in-house movement. It's completely made by Zenith. It's called the El Primero because it's the best chronograph in the world, the first best chronograph in the world. And the accuracy of this watch is 1/10 of a second. The accuracy of the Rolex Daytona is only 1/60 of a second. So there is a major difference in technicality and in accuracy as far as these two watches go. So the Zenith Chronomaster was released, I think, about a year and a half ago. I happen to have one in the store just for your podcast, Michael. But usually there is a waiting list for that watch that's about 2 to 3 months. So that was the Chronomaster.
What does that cost you?
The
Tell
third
us what
watch,
that costs.
okay, yeah, absolutely. So the retail price on this watch is 11,000. So if you compare it to a pre-owned Daytona, it's it's 3 times less. Now, if you can find a Rolex Daytona new, it's a different story. It's an amazing watch. Uh, Also, I would like to mention that back in the days until 2001, the Rolex Daytona had the Zenith El Primero movement in the case. So if you buy a pre-owned Rolex Daytona today that has the El Primero Zenith movement in the case, you're going to pay a premium because it's a superior movement, a superior caliber. The caliber in this watch here is very different from the caliber that was in the Daytona that Rolex was selling in 2001. This is a brand new caliber, so better performance, better movement. 11,000 retail, and I have it in the store.
What else do you have for
So
us?
I have a few more goodies. I picked another watch that um, usually watch collectors um, know about. It is a Girard-Perregaux. Girard-Perregaux is one of the oldest watch companies in Switzerland. This is one of the iconic watch. I also picked one that had a panda dial, so you can compare it to the Rolex Daytona and the Zenith Chronomaster I showed you before. It has the same kind of the dial, but what the Girard-Perregaux has also, they have a beautiful dial that's completely faceted by hand, and it's called the Clou de Paris. So if you look at the watch up close, it has those little square that little design on the dial. They make it very very special.
Yeah, it's a pretty watch.
A very very pretty watch. The retail on this watch is only 18,600. Movement is done in house. It's a great chronograph. The first version of that watch came out in 1970 and was worn by Dustin Hoffman in the movie The Graduate. So, when Girard-Perregaux launched the watch, they were looking for a name to give the watch. When the watch was launched in Italy on the poster, it translated the graduate and it said Il Laureato, which means the graduate in Italian. So they named the watch after the movie. They called it the Il Laureato. So if you want a little bit of the glimpse, and you want a little bit of the, you have a little bit of the nostalgia of yesterday, and you want to drive a nice red convertible car like Dustin Hoffman, you may want to buy a Girard-Perregaux.
Love it.
So I just showed you, I just introduced three chronographs. So we had the Rolex Daytona, we had the Zenith Chronomaster, and now I'm going to show you a watch that will drive anyone insane, anyone crazy, but in a very, very good way. And it's called the Crazy Hour. Look, the Crazy Hour is the concept of the Crazy Hour is a concept that was created by Frank Muller. So if you look at the dial, and if you look at the time, and if you look at the hours, usually you have the 12 and the 1 o'clock and the 2 p.m. and the 3 p.m. and the 4 p.m. Not for Frank Muller. So what you do, as of right now, I'm just going to open up the Chrome. As of right now, it says 12, 12:35, 12:40 on the watch. Now, when the time goes by and the hand moves forward, instead of having the one here or the two here, you're going to see the hand jumping from 12 to 1 and to 1 to 2 o'clock. That is at 6 p.m. So we're going to move the hand. Am I moving it right?
I
See that?
love that.
So it's a crazy mechanism. It's very very unique. It's only Frank Muller makes that watch, and you get used to reading the time on the Crazy Hour very very quickly. It's a very intricate movement. The dial is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, Frank Muller makes absolutely stunning dials. It takes 24 hours, 36 hours more to make a dial. I think maybe a week. I can't quite remember. And if there is something on the dial that's not perfect, they toss the dial away. So Frank Muller gives a lot of attention to their dial and the mechanism of their watch. So this is the crazy hour. And again, you were talking earlier about um, you know different timekeepers, exotic timekeepers, collector timekeepers. This is one of them.
Now, one of your
Also,
friends, I think, is the president of Frank Mueller that was actually in the store, correct?
correct. So Ron Jackson is a longtime
Yep.
friend, a long time friend of Ed Marshall Jewelers. Every time there is an event, he's here. He's very passionate about the brand. And if you want to know more about the crazy hours next time you come, he'll be able to tell you more stories.
I
But
talked to Ron actually, and he might actually come on the podcast, Hugh. So that would be interesting to have the president of Frank Mueller on to talk about that. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
that would be very interesting. That would be great. That would be
Yeah,
absolutely great. He would be a wonderful guest.
yeah. How much
And
is that piece, Hugh?
so this right here, the crazy hour, 16,200 retail. What's nice about the watch, it's curved. So, if you whether you have a large wrist or not, it's a very comfortable watch. It's very aerodynamic. You put the watch on your wrist, it sits very nicely. The band folds very nice as well. It's extremely comfortable to wear this watch. It has also a butterfly clasp, so it's very easy to put the watch on. You slide and you close one side and then you close the other side. The band of the watch is hand stitch finished. It's rubberized. Um, it's a pretty lightweight watch. Uh, and like I said, it's extremely comfortable.
Now you have something else for us that I know is pretty special too. What's that piece?
You leave the best for last, right?
Now, and again, I think a lot of people watching this may not know mechanisms and movements and prices. So if you can go into detail about this piece, the metal obviously that's on it, the movement, which is a very expensive movement, and the rarity of the piece. I think people would find that interesting.
Sure. So the last piece, and I shouldn't say I left, you know, the best for last because they all great timekeepers. Okay. The last one I selected is the new Ulysse Nardin Blast. Now, you are looking at the tourbillon. So, what is a tourbillon? A tourbillon is pretty much a cage that compensates for gravity. Back in the days, people used to wear pocket watches, and the pocket watch they would bounce the pocket watch around, and it would never keep time. It would drive people crazy, and they would break, and they would always run late to their appointment or too early to their appointment. So Abraham Breguet came up with the concept of the tourbillon. It's pretty much putting the movement in a cage that stabilize the movement. So when you wear the pocket watch, it doesn't bounce around, and it compensates for um, gravity, which you have right here. This is a watch that takes an amazing, amazing amount of time to be made. I think the conception. I have to look at my notes, but I think that the conception of this watch took about 9 months. 9 months to be made.
Wow.
The case of the watch is 45 millimeter, so it's a skeletonized tourbillon. And I'm going to flip the watch on the other side, so you can see. I mean, there is a blue plastic there, which I'm going to remove. But you can see the intricacy of the
Beautiful
movement.
piece. Beautiful piece.
The signature of the watch itself is the X, but it's a skeleton watch. I mean, there is not much. If you look at the watch itself, um, It's
Yeah, can
completely
you put that? Yeah, can you put that in the middle there so we can look at that? So the tourbillon's on the bottom there at the 6 o'clock.
correct. The tourbillon is on the bottom there at 6 o'clock. And it's really, I mean, this watch, it really is an atomic bomb, you know. It has a 3 days power reserve as well. So once you fully wind the watch, you know, you're good to go. You're good to go for 3 days.
And is that a rose gold case or what? What's tell us a little bit about the structure?
So the case of the watch, it kind of looked like, you know, one of these, whoops, one of these stealth aircraft that you see in our U.S. Army. You know, the way it's designed, it looks like it has wings. So the case of the watch is rose gold, and I believe the bezel is made of ceramic or PVD.
Hmm.
But you
Interesting.
have the other thing that you have in this watch, which is really important. It's something that needs to be mentioned. It has Ulysse Nardin to this day owns more patents than Patek Philippe, which is really surprising and really amazing when you know how long and for how many years Patek Philippe have been around. Ulysse Nardin has more patents than Patek Philippe, and it's the first company ever that has been using silicium in the movement of their watch. Why do you use less silicium? Because it creates less friction between the parts. When they first started using silicium, you know, the watchmaking industry, people were screaming, "Why using less silicium? You know, it's not a noble component." But it makes the watch, you know, it gives great accuracy to the watch, and it gives less friction to the movement.
So how much is that piece, and why is it so expensive? So people can get an understanding of it.
So this watch retails for 61,200. The reason this piece is so expensive, it's because it's completely done by hand. To put things into perspective, if you look at the screws, I mean, you may not be able to see them here, but every screw in this watch that holds the movement, it takes about 36 hours to polish one screw, and it's completely done by hand. So you have, as you can imagine, just like in the old days, you have a watchmaker sitting at his bench, polishing with a loupe, with a magnifier, a screw for
Hmm.
30. Every part of that watch is done by hand.
Mm.
So, you know, again, to conceive this watch from day one to the end, it took about 9 months just to conceive it. That's what you pay for. You pay, you know, it's, you know, if you want to compare it to cars, that's why you buy a Ferrari. You know, you buy a
Hmm.
Ferrari are hand stitched because there's carbon fiber because of all the care and all the heart that was put into making the watch.
Now here's a question for you. Um, what do you think is the least expensive watch that you sell in the store for someone maybe who has a budget that you think is a great piece, maybe an automatic piece that is accessible to people for any price point?
Well, yeah, thank you for asking the question. We have other brands, so we don't only sell super crazy expensive and high-end watch. We carry some other brands. We carry Seiko. We carry Jungens. We carry Frédéric Constant, which is kind of an entry level watch. They watch retail about $4,000. They make their own movement. They make spectacular, good looking watches as well. So you can, if you want entry level, I would say you can buy either a pre-owned watch and spend $2,000 and up, or you can, you know, buy a new watch, spend also about 2,000 and up, and go from there.
And what is the most expensive timepiece that you currently have in the store or that you have personally sold in the past? I think people might get a kick out of that.
Oh, that's a very good question. I think that the most expensive piece that I've sold was a Patek Philippe. Patek Philippe with multiple application for about $500,000.
$500,000 watch.
Correct.
Yeah. And then what about what you currently have in the store?
What we currently have in the store, the Blast that I just showed you, the Tourbillon, the Ulysse Nardin, is probably one of the most expensive one we have. I'm trying to think. I would say that's the most expensive one for now.
And that's about
No, no.
325,000, right?
So this one here, no, I have another one actually that I didn't show. So this watch here is 61,200. I have a Girard Perregaux in the store that's called the Constant Escapement, which basically it's a watch that has a special feature that would hold the perfect time, the accurate time for 8 days in a row without losing 1 second. So that is the most expensive watch I have in the store. It's a white gold piece. It doesn't look like the most expensive watch, but it is because of the complexity of making such a movement. So that watch I think retails about 137,000.
Interesting. So if someone comes to you, Hugh, and they want to start their collection, maybe, they're friends of mine or people watching, and girl or guy, I know you've helped me a lot with my friends and things. What's the best way for them to get started? What's the best way for them to contact you or get in touch with you and get on your radar and maybe get their wish list to you?
Well, the first thing to do, get in touch with me.
How do they do that?
We very friendly here at Ed Marshall, so they can look us up on the internet. We are Ed Marshall Jewelers. We are located in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we are a destination store. We are a dealer for, I would say, about 15 brands. We deal a lot with pre-owned watch. So you can walk in our store and find what your heart has been looking for a long time. So we have Breguet, we have Omega, we have all kind of watch, and we have watch that are less expensive as well. With Tag Heuers, with Carrera, we have don't think because we sell high-end watch that we are snobs. We we have a lot of different watch for all budgets. And if you want to talk to me personally, please, reach out to me. You can look at our information on the internet, or you can get in touch with Michael, who has become almost like a family member because he never tell me when he's going to walk in the store. He always surprise me.
Well, thank you, Hugh. And where can they follow you? Are you on Instagram or LinkedIn
I'm on,
or Facebook?
so I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, which I keep a little bit more private, but I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. You can always reach out to me, and not just to buy watch. We sell diamonds. We sell engagement ring. We have the largest selection of engagement rings in the entire state. We don't carry CZ. We have our own stock, and we have diamonds that go from 1 carat to 15 carat, so you can find anything, and we're very very competitive in our pricing. I mean, if you contact me, if you want to buy an engagement ring or a watch, you will get from us the best deal in the United States. I guarantee it.
And here's another thing, Hugh, that I think is important, right? So this podcast is really about personal branding and becoming more successful in your marketplace, whatever your profession is. How important is the networking aspect and getting to know people such as yourself and getting to know and touch and see the products to really meeting more people and becoming more successful in your marketplace?
Are you talking about making the connections? Making
Making
the
the
connection.
connections. And then also, one of the reasons I love watches and one of the reasons I got into them is because I got to meet other wealthy individuals that like them as well, that can conduct business. So if you're in sales, whether it be, we're all selling ourselves in some way, whether it be, real estate or, some type of sales aspect. it really helps, I think, to make those connections, because those people, your clients, our friends, are ones that are obviously the movers and the shakers of the world that can afford things like these.
Correct. Well, you have a lot of groups on the internet, on Facebook, and a lot of young guys who start going into watches, who have a passion for it. And I know, I mean, I don't go to those groups, but I know they meet and they talk about watches, and they talk about watches they've purchased, and they compare them. The other thing you can do if you want to connect with people in the business is just, come and see us. If you want to see a watch, we will explain to you how it works. Um, we'll try to give you as much knowledge as we can, so you can buy it for yourself, knowing exactly what you're getting into. And then, talk to people who, if you like watches, just talk to people who wear watches. Talk to them, ask them, what kind of a watch they wear. Where did they buy it? Why is the watch they're wearing so special? What makes it so unique? And I think that it's, the way you create, a network is human connection. It's only human connection. It's the way people connect. The same way when you first came to the store, and you and I met. I know you thought I was a pretty funny guy, but we connected right away. And the connection is important. What's the most important, I think, and I think it's true for all businesses, is the relationship you have with people. It's not selling, another watch to someone. It's not selling another piece of real estate to someone. At the end of the day, is the relationship you have developed with that person. That's what matters the most. That's what lasts longer. So I think if you want to expand your network, you can always meet people, who buy nice stuff. You can, if you want to become successful in a field, whether it's real estate or the jewelry business, meet someone talk to someone who's in that business, see how he became successful, ask him how he got there, what kind of goals he made, and then set your own goals and go for it. You can. Everyone is on a journey. Everyone has, not everyone, but everyone has a passion. So go for your passion, and if you're not sure how to do something, ask someone how they get there. I'm sure they'll tell you about the journey.
That actually goes into my next question, which is, I would assume you've had mentors in your life, and maybe it was your father, a family member, someone that got you into the industry, someone that you respect highly. What piece of advice did they give you that you may be able to share with the audience?
Well, you're right. My father was my mentor, so I got to pay him tribute. Um, I would say, don't don't sell anything. Don't try
Mm,
to sell.
hmm.
Let your friends let your friends buy from you. And there
Mm,
is between selling and buying. Don't sell. The salesmen. There's millions of salespeople all over the world. You don't try to sell. When I go somewhere, maybe because I'm in sales, I'm like, I don't like when I get, people try to push me, put pressure on me to buy something. So I try not to do that with my clients, unless they really cannot make a decision and I feel they need to be pushed off the edge a little bit, time to time, because they need it, and they come back and they thank me for doing it. But I would say, don't sell. Let customers, let friends buy, and let them choose what fits them the best. That's my advice.
I think that's actually very powerful, and for the viewership, I think it's important, and I think this probably relates to your business as well, because we're both in high end ticket sales. And the concept of becoming a great salesperson is to educate and create knowledge, right? You know something that a lot of people don't know. And by you educating, having authentic relationships with them, right? Helping them understand what it is and why it is that you do what you do, and helping them come to the conclusion themselves. It's almost like that movie Inception, right? Once you
Right.
learn about a Daytona, once you learn about a Patek Philippe, once you learn about an AP, once you learn about Louis Nardon, you start realizing I don't need someone to tell me I want it. I want it. You know what I mean? Now the question is, how do I obtain it and get it? And someone like you can assist us on that journey. So I think that's a great piece of advice.
No, I fully agree with your statement. I agree with that 100%. Absolutely.
And then last but not least, is there a quote or something that served you well in your life that you'd like to share with the audience? A quote maybe that resonates with you?
There is a lot of quotes, Michael. There is a lot of quotes. Maybe a couple that comes up to my mind. Don't create limitations for yourself. There's no limitations, they all self-inflicted. And again, the only limitation you create or you set, you do that yourself and you do it to yourself. So I would say don't create limitation, no limitations. I would say, just do things, push fear aside, go for it. I think I've told you I used to do martial arts, and I used to step into a ring. And if you let fear of your opponent, if you let fear get the best out of you, you're done. You get paralyzed. So forget about fear. Fear is self-created. Just push yourself to the best you can. Be the best you can be. You'll never be the best in the world in martial arts. You will always find someone who's stronger, bigger, larger than you, who's going to knock you down on your knees. So, but be the best you can be. Be the best you can be. Michael can be. Don't set limitation for yourself, and just go for it and enjoy the journey, because life is short, and enjoy every moment of it.
I think that's very good advice. And the other thing I'd recommend to the audience too, because we have a lot of different people watching from all different socioeconomic backgrounds, and hopefully future clients of yours, Hugh. But I always say this is if you love something and you want to understand it, don't look at price, look at value. And what I mean by that is if you love a Patek Philippe Nautilus and it's $200,000, or you love a Rolex Daytona and it's $30,000, $40,000, don't look at the price, look at the value. And if it brings you value and you can rationalize the value and it's a storage of value, it'll be very interesting. You'll start to realize you can afford these things. And the reason I say that is my first watch that I ever bought, I don't know if I told you this, was the Rolex Submariner stainless black face, right? And I bought that in 2004. And so for the audience to know, I actually bought that new from an AD for around $3,500, I think, at that time. And as of today, that watch is probably worth $10,000, $11,000. And so when you get to the knowledge and you're around it at that time, that was all the money in the world, right? And you know me, we bought a Daytona from you, blackface Daytona, $38,000, $36,000. That seems like all the money in the world. But when you look at that piece and you understand what it is, it's a storage of value. The money really will come. And the reason I say that is because if that's your passion and that's your joy and that's what brings you forward, whether that's a story, whether that's a communication or a connection between people, the money will somehow appear to create that piece. And I think the important thing is to be in proximity of it, right? I think the first time, ironically enough, that I saw many of these Daytonas was actually in your store, because you hear about them, you read about them, you talk about them, but it's very rare that you get to see a Panda, for example, in person, right? It's very rare you get to see stainless steel Daytonas in person, or a John Mayer in person. And when you get to touch it, feel it, understand it, educate yourself on it, I think really it becomes part of your psyche, and you'll find a way to actually accumulate not just that, but many, many more pieces in your collection. And
No,
a collection. What do you think of that?
I say amen to that. You know what, Michael? I'm going to we're going to hire you part time, because when I have a client who's not sure whether to spend 50 or $60,000 on a watch, that's 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 the time I will bring you in so you can close the sale. I love what you just said, but
But it's the truth. It's the truth, and those pieces, what I love about these pieces, and for those of you watching, why I love Rolex and Patek and why I own a lot of different watches is because they're storytellers. Having that on your wrist, man or woman, tells a story. It tells a story of your life, tells the story of your socioeconomic success. Maybe it's a marker for something you've accomplished in your life, a graduation, a retirement or whatever it is. It's a story that you can relate to others, and I think that goes back to what you talked about, which is the connection of people. So thank you so much for coming on, Hugh. We really appreciate your expertise. And what's the best way they can follow you on Instagram, or what do they say if they want to come into the store and deal directly with you?
Instagram, just send me an invite on Instagram. I will accept you. And then just call me. Just call me at the store. I mean, I can. I have an email address, but it will be too difficult to spell it. But just call me. Just call the store. If you forget my name, I I don't know how you would forget my first name, by the way, Hugh. But if you forget my name, just call the store and ask for the French guy. I guarantee you, I'm the only one in the building. They will know who you're referring to.
And what's your Instagram handle in case they want to follow you?
My Instagram is that's a you know what I wasn't prepared for this, Michael. Pam 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 pam.
We can
I think it's M
Time
or H, isn't it? M or H?
we can just add it to we'll add it to the information down at the bottom of the video.
guardian
Perfect.
guardian guardian of time.
Awesome.
Guardian of
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And if they have questions, again, we filmed this the day before Matt actually put this on. So, again, if you have comments, like the video, subscribe to Culhane Groups, and also leave comments below. And I will forward any comments that you have or introductions that you have to Hugh personally. And, Hugh, if they come in and mention my name, I assume you'll take care of them and getting the best pricing, right?
I will. There is no doubt. There is absolutely no doubt. Just come and see me. Just come and see us. We're a family business. We've been here for 51 years. We very very cool people. I know it can be intimidating to walk into a jewelry store, because it's you walk into sometimes you have a doorman, sometimes you have to ring the bell, but please know that if you come to Ed Marshall Jewelers and you come and see me, just be relaxed, take a deep breath, come and see me, come and see us. We will take good care of you.
And educate yourself on these things, because I think the most important thing is gain knowledge, gain education, figure out what it is that you want, and then have Hugh find something for you at the best possible price. So again, thank you, Hugh, for coming on. We really appreciate your time, and thank you guys for watching. Till next
Thank you.
time, take care. Bye bye.